You're listening to English with Monty, the podcast about the English language. If you're an English language learner, have a keen interest in language, or you're a teacher, then this podcast is for you. We give tips and advice and discuss topics about learning and teaching. We hope you find it fun and informative, that it gives you help and encouragement in your journey with the English language. Hi there, welcome to episode 2 of English with Monty. Today we're going to talk about some common grammar mistakes in English. This was a bit of an inspiration from one of my good friends, a lovely friend in Russia, Olya. So thank you for the suggestion. I think this is a good topic and it could give us a few different talking points and we'll get some of the listeners involved. So I'm here with Gideon from Zeitgeist Banana. Hi, how are you, Gideon?
Hello, John. I'm fine, thank you.
Great. So you're also, we mentioned in the last episode, you're from Let Them Talk. You do Let Them Talk TV, but also you do Zeitgeist Banana, which is your name of your podcast, isn't it?
Yes, if you want to watch our videos, go to Let Them Talk TV on YouTube. And if you want to listen to our podcasts, if I say that word correctly, go to Zeitgeist Banana. And John, you are on my podcast, the first two anyway. It's you and me again.
Blimey, that's great, isn't it? You're on my first two podcasts as well.
Lucky you.
But I think this is a winning formula at the moment, so I think we should stick with it. No. I think yes, we're going to do well. So should we kick things off? We're going to have a look at 50 common grammar mistakes courtesy of ingvid.com. So they are giving us some interesting ideas and discussion points, which I think would be very kind of universal in terms of people's mistakes. So first one we're going to look at is, so I'll give you 2 examples and then the listeners, you can give me your answer, what you think it might be. So I have visited Niagara Falls last weekend, or I visited Niagara Falls last weekend.
Maybe this is where we put in some dramatic music. Da, 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 da. And then you reveal the correct answer.
Da, 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 da. So yes, it is. I visited Niagara Falls last weekend.
Yes.
So this is an interesting one. This was something we mentioned in the first podcast, wasn't it? To do with present perfect and past simple. So yes, we did speak about this kind of being used a lot at different levels. So what's the main difference, Gideon?
You put me, you asking me?
Sorry.
I would say you're saying last weekend. That's completed past. Mm-hmm. So yes, you use a past time phrase last weekend. And if you do that, you absolutely must use a past tense and not a present perfect tense.
Yes.
Is that right? Do you want to add to that?
Yes, that's totally correct. I think the thing is with using the present perfect, it's for me, I normally think of it as general past. So when you're not thinking of a specific moment, just at some point in your past, for example, I have been to France. I don't tell you when, I don't tell you how many times. So it's just a very general past idea. So anytime you have a time expression in it, you've got to use past simple, but also if you know the time. So for example, if Gideon has been on holiday and he comes back and I say to him, how was your holiday? So again, I would use the past simple because I know it was last week. So again, that's another way of using it. So
yes, I agree with you entirely. Your grammar is impeccable. I would say I would just add that present perfect. I think you often use it for experiences, don't you? I have visited the Great Wall of China. We don't care about when you did it, but the fact that you have done it, and then you use a present perfect because you're talking about your experience. But if you talk about when it happened, the Great Wall of China. Yeah, I was there last year. So using a past simple.
Yep. Yeah. No, well, I think that's an often confused one, isn't it? So I thought that was good to kick off. Good starting point.
Yeah.
Yep. So do you want to choose?
I get choice. Choice here.
Yep.
So I'm going to choose this one. So is it A, I must to call him immediately, or B, I must call him immediately? Which is the correct answer? The correct answer is
I must call him immediately.
Well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you very
Well
much. So I
wasn't clapping you. I was clapping the listeners out there who all got it correct.
Yeah, I think they did. I mean, hopefully that's not too much of a difficulty, that one. But yes, often you would never use to after a modal verb. So anytime you're using a modal verb, you wouldn't use to. So that's the key one, isn't it? It's like, I'd say I can swim. I can speak Mongolian, for example.
Yeah. Which are the modal verbs? Do you want to list a few of them?
Yeah, so the modal verbs: must, may, might, should, would. Any others that you can think of?
May, might, should, must, shall, will.
Shall, yeah, that's a good one. Will, yep. So any time you use any of those words, immediately afterwards, would. We've mentioned that one. But yeah, any time immediately afterwards, you don't use to. So that I think that's an important one. Okay, we'll move on to the next one. So I think this is quite confusing for quite a few people, this one, but
go ahead.
We'll see if we can explain it away. I'll explain it away in one way, and I think hopefully it's right.
I'll give you a completely different answer. Okay.
Maybe.
Go ahead.
So the first one would be I look forward to meet you. The second one would be I look forward to meeting you. So which one is correct?
Okay. So the correct answer is...
The correct answer is I look forward to meeting you.
Yes. Yeah. That's correct.
Can we explain why that is? I have something in my mind, but this is how I normally explain it. I normally say that in this case, to acts like a preposition. Therefore, after a preposition, it would be a gerund.
Exactly.
So obviously, you do have to as part of an infinitive quite often, but in this situation, to acts as a preposition. That's why you have ing.
Yes, absolutely. So you would say, I want to meet you, because in that case, want is followed by an infinitive. And that to is a to marker for the infinitive. But in this case, no, it's a preposition. That's why it's confusing, because here it's a preposition. As John says, the after preposition comes gerund, the verb in the ing form. So I'm looking forward to meeting you. And I look forward to hearing from you.
Yes, indeed. I guess we would often use this in quite a formal context as well, wouldn't we? Often you say something like that maybe at the end of a cover letter or at the end of an email where you're coming out for an interview or something like that.
Exactly. I look forward to seeing you soon, or something like that.
Yeah. So,
you could also, can I just add that you, as at the end, you could also use in the present continuous, couldn't you? I'm looking forward to meeting you soon. So some people would use it like that. I don't think with any big difference in meaning.
I would always think that's slightly more familiar, isn't it? I'm looking forward to meeting you.
Okay.
That's how I look at it.
I like to be familiar.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so basically that would be my feeling on it, because I think if you don't really know somebody very well and you're coming for an interview, I think it's much safer to go for I look forward to meeting you.
Okay.
It sounds a bit more enthusiastic, doesn't it, if you say I'm looking forward to meeting you?
Yeah.
Okay, so next one.
I've chosen this one because a lot of my students here in Paris get this one wrong. I hear this mistake all the time. I'm sure the listeners out there are going to get it correct, though. It is it when I arrive, I will call you, or when I will arrive, I will call you, which is the correct answer. And the correct one is when I arrive, I will call you. Yes. Yeah. Do you want to go ahead, John?
Yeah, no, this is an interesting one, isn't it? Quite a few people often do use the future, don't they, after when? But with when, you don't do that ever, do you? I don't think
there's an exception.
Right.
Well, first in questions, when will you arrive?
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, when is a relative pronoun. So I want to know when he will come. Then you can, but not in this case here. No, after when, put present tense.
Yeah. No, it's very important to do the present tense there, doesn't it? It really doesn't sound quite right in English, does it? If you say that, I mean, people will obviously understand you. It just doesn't quite sound right to the ear. So it's one of those things that makes you refine the language, doesn't it? And make you sound a bit more like a native speaker.
Yes. Tell me when you arrive, not when you will arrive. Also, I think it works for some other words too, doesn't it? Like unless he arrives soon, we'll do this. Not unless he will arrive soon. Mm-hmm. So when is the most common example, but you find it with some other words too.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to another one. So this one again is going back to present perfect, but working in a slightly different way. So let me give you the two examples. So I've been here for 3 months. I've been here since 3 months.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's a common mistake. Yes.
Yes. So So the answer is, I'm sure people will have got this. So I've been here for 3 months would be the correct answer. So when would we use since? Since is
like a starting point.
Yeah.
Isn't it? When an action started. Mm-hmm. Okay. And for is for a period of time, a length of time.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yep.
So totally since will be used for present perfect usually because it includes now, includes this moment. Mm-hmm. So expressions such as since yesterday, since last week, since a date, since I met you, that's when something started. Yeah. I've been very happy to talk with you since I met you.
Since last Christmas, I've been eating lots of gelato.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But 3 months is a period of time. It's a length of time, isn't it? So you can't use since here. You could use for. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. No, I think that's a good point. A good focus again on the old mileage question of present perfect.
Yeah. So I should say that, John, that you and I are both working without notes. We're doing this naked. Well, I don't know. Oh, you've got no. I haven't got any notes. So we're doing this naked, as it were.
Yes, we are. We are. Because I think it's the best way. It's the best way of doing it. We have got a prop, though, haven't we? We've got. We didn't make up all these questions.
No, we have the questions. We have the questions. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. But I think it's better this way, isn't it? Yeah. I'm sure the listeners appreciate it this way. So, right, I think the next one's you, isn't it? Good.
Okay. So, how about this one? I didn't meet nobody. I didn't meet anybody, which is the correct answer. The correct answer is I didn't meet anybody. Why?
In English, I think this is typical rule, isn't it? And I suppose, it's a universal rule, the idea that you don't have a double negative. In Italian, for example, because I know that language reasonably well, in Italian, you would use a double negative, whereas in English, we wouldn't. You can't have a double negative.
Can I give the however bit now, John?
Oh, yeah. Go on.
There are, you will hear some people. I know I'm from London. You hear a lot on the streets of London, don't you? But I'm sure throughout the English-speaking world, people using double negatives like "I don't know nothing." Let's say that in London. I don't know nothing.
That sounds like an episode of EastEnders.
Yeah.
I don't know nothing, Grant.
I don't know nothing. Which, of course, if you don't know nothing, you know something. I say, oh, so you know something? No, I don't know nothing. So you know something. But it's not standard English. It's not standard English. We're grammar teachers.
Yeah, so. It's something that you might see in like a gangster movie, isn't it? A London gangster movie where you got some EastEnders kind of looking a bit hard and aggressive, and I don't know nothing. I'm not going to tell you nothing. So it is a mistake though, grammatically.
Yeah.
So but it's the way people speak, isn't it? I mean,
sometimes I'm just saying if you hear a native speaking using a double negative, please don't send angry emails to John or myself saying, but I heard this person, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So there's always using an exception to the rule.
That's important to note, isn't it? We don't want any angry people with us. So yeah, definitely important to note. Okay, let's move on. So the next one, please explain to me how to improve my English. Mm-hmm. Please explain me how improve my English.
Can I say that that's very interesting because again that I hear that all the time and from people who have even very advanced level making this mistake.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is a common one, isn't it? And I think really comes down to the explain part typically. That's where I normally find the mistake. So the second one was correct, or was it the first one maybe? So please explain to me how to improve my English. So if you can actually say that sentence, then you probably don't need to say that sentence because you're doing very well already.
Very good. Yes. No. I think what's confusing is you ask to explain, say, to somebody. Can you explain to me the answer? But explain is also a transitive verb. Can you explain the answer? So sometimes it's followed directly with an object, but when it's to somebody, you put to.
Yeah, no, I hadn't thought about that one. Yeah, but you could say, please explain the answer to me as well, couldn't you?
Yeah, but that would be, yes, the answer to me. So there you are. Please explain me how to improve my English. That's correct.
Explain to me. Yeah, explain to me.
Oh, sorry.
Just correcting you there.
Oh my God.
Right, Gideon, next one.
The next one, the life is hard. No, hold on, John, because we're always doing the wrong one is first, so we should switch it around. Otherwise, it's going to be too easy for the listeners.
I was switching it around.
I was switching it around. Okay. So the next one, which is correct? Life is hard or the life is hard? And the answer is life is hard. Oh, yes.
Yeah. This is a tough one, isn't it? I mean, I'm not talking about life. I mean, life can be hard, but not always. Life can be lovely sometimes. Quite often it can be lovely, especially if you're listening to our podcast. But yeah, this is a common one. I think a lot of people do get this wrong, even if they're a fairly high level as well. Is it fair to say quite a few French speakers get this wrong?
Yeah,
I've found that.
Yeah.
I find a lot of Italian speakers get this wrong, and I guess
is it their language that say the life? Yeah.
Yeah, can you enlighten people? Can you give them a bit of?
I will. I think there's just two explanations really. One is that if you're talking about things in general, you don't put a definite article. So nature, I love nature, no, I love the nature. And also the other thing is like any sort of abstract concepts. Any concepts also you don't put the article. So life or democracy is a sort of concept. So democracy is good. Or health. Health is important. So, so you don't put the definite article in front of these.
Because I always think about it being an uncountable general noun, isn't it? In a way, is that fair to say?
Yeah, because you're talking in general about the noun, yeah.
Because you could say, for example, the footballers in England get paid a lot of money, for example, because you're being very specific, aren't you? So that's fine, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We'll go on to the next one.
But sometimes, I mean, it's really difficult with articles because you'll often find, I've fallen into this trap before, but you give a rule, and with the article, definite articles, there are lots of exceptions. Like you say, the guitar is difficult. Huh?
Yeah,
but chess is difficult. But why the guitar? But you say chess. You see what I mean? There are many exceptions when it comes to difficult articles. So be careful.
Yeah, be careful, because also there's kind of geographical examples, which I find quite interesting, because you'd say, if you were using acronyms, for example, you would always use the. There are exceptions to that as well. So, I mean, you would typically say the UK, the USA, the EU. Yeah. But then, for example, we say NATO. We don't say the NATO, do we?
That's true.
But that's probably a bit of an exception to most things, isn't it? Yeah. And then for oceans, you would use it, wouldn't you? So the Atlantic, or rivers, you would use it. The Thames.
The Himalayas, so mountain ranges.
But then for a singular mountain, you wouldn't. You'd say Mont Blanc. You wouldn't say the Mont Blanc.
Yeah.
Or the Everest. You'd say Everest.
Exactly.
Yeah. There are a few geographical references, and also I always have one with buildings. I find buildings are difficult to explain, because typically you would never say the Buckingham Palace. You would always say Buckingham Palace, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereas they seem to say the Shard in London, whereas I think nowadays they're kind of dropping that and just calling it Shard.
Okay.
So I'm kind of wondering whether it depends on, to some extent, how well known a place is. Would that be fair? Because it's quite vague, isn't it, on buildings to some extent?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. I agree with you, but I think the articles, the rules do in fact even change from time to time. There are some strange ones with articles though. For example, I would say, John, but you're not the John I spoke to last week. So why do you put an article before John, the John? I'm talking about a specific John. Mm-hmm. You're not the John I spoke to last week. You're a different John.
That's a good example, though. Yeah. But it's going to be another talking point, I think, with articles.
I think that'll require a whole podcast. And I'll need my long list of exceptions as well.
I think you do. Because also I find this quite a challenge for languages that don't have articles at all. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure in Poland they don't have articles.
Right.
I'm pretty sure in Russia they don't have articles, and then maybe in the Czech Republic and places like that. So I think they're Slavic
Chinese
languages
and Japanese don't have articles.
Okay.
Korean don't have articles.
Yeah, so that does make it a bit more challenging for those listeners. So yeah, bear that in mind. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So we studied during 4 hours. We studied for 4 hours.
Okay. So do you know the answer?
I do know the answer. The answer is the second one. So we studied for 4 hours.
Correct.
This one would probably be quite a common one for French speakers, I would say, because they use a similar word in French, don't they?
Yeah. I think Spanish speakers too, from my experience, like during.
Yeah, so even though obviously people would understand what you're saying, it doesn't sound right, of course. I mean, it's much better to use for. Yeah, it's maybe a bit confusing with this example because you're saying for 4, but you could say for 5 hours or for 6 hours.
The rule I always teach when people use during is that during goes before a noun. Mm-hmm. So I drank coffee during the podcast.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and so that's easy to remember. Could be before an adjective. I drank coffee during the boring podcast, but of course they're talking about someone else's podcast, not this one, which is amazingly interesting. But during usually goes before a noun or before an adjective and a noun. And for is for a length of time, as we discussed before.
During our incredible podcast.
Yeah, I drank a lot of coffee during the
podcast, and now you're babbling
during the lockdown.
Making any sense? During the lockdown, yes. Don't drink too much coffee during the lockdown, or eat too much chocolate, or drink too much beer.
I went a bit crazy during the lockdown. I could say that.
Yeah, crazy with not having parties. That kind of crazy, right? Yeah, I'm going a bit crazy actually. I want to go somewhere. I think I'm going to go somewhere this weekend.
Okay.
I think we're allowed to now, so it's fine. So let's move on to the next one. Was it your go or my go? I can't remember.
I think it's mine.
Yep.
I think it's mine. I've got one prepared.
Go on.
So which one is the correct one? Can you give me some information? You can give me an information.
Okay.
Then the correct one is, can you give me some information? You agree?
Yeah, this has kind of got two things in there, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has indeed.
Yeah, that's why it's a nice one. So I suppose some information is an interesting one because a lot of the time people do, the idea of an information suggests that it's a singular idea. So information is an uncountable noun. So you could say, can you give me a piece of information?
Yeah, exactly.
So you could use it in that way. But if you're talking in general, yes, you would always say some information, wouldn't you? That's the best way of doing it.
Absolutely correct. Your grammar is impeccable today. Yes, information is uncountable, isn't it? So you can't say an information or two informations. Never an S. Don't put an S. I see that all the time. 3. I've got 2 informations for you, or some informations. No. It's uncountable. So some information or 2 pieces of information.
Indeed, yeah. And then, just making sure you invert the question form. Yeah. So at the beginning, you're going to have the verb and then the subject rather than the subject and the verb. But you've got to be maybe careful as well, because also if you ask an indirect question, which is the polite form. So, for example, could you tell me where the post office is? So, for example, the beginning of the question is obviously like a normal question, but at the end, it's like a normal sentence, isn't it, or a statement? Yeah. So, that's a thing to look out for. Be careful of that one.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to move on to a conditional one here. So I think conditional's always a tricky one. So if I am in London, I will contact you. If I will be in London, I will contact you.
Ooh.
Tricky one, this one,
Ooh.
isn't it? So, so
The correct one.
music
If I am in
sounds-
London,
if I am in London,
I'm in London, I will contact you.
Yep, that's
you agree,
correct.
I hope?
Yeah. So I'm hoping is that what's going to happen with you next time, Gideon? If you are in London, you will contact me. Or
If I'm in
gonna
London,
avoid me. Maybe.
I'll be in touch.
Okay, excellent. That's good news. So I'm looking forward to potential meeting with Gideon. Might do another video together at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
that's what is it? That's the first conditional.
That is the first conditional. Yes.
I always get confused with the numbers of the conditionals. Yes, I got that. Yeah, the first conditional, John, isn't it?
Yes, it is the first conditional. Yeah, but it can be a bit confusing with the numbers, can't it? I mean, we don't really necessarily need to use the numbers, I guess, as long as you obviously know the difference between them. I suppose from a teaching point of view, it's good to give them a name so that you can differentiate, like make a difference between each of the particular subjects, or sorry, the particular conditionals. So this one, this is another question, Gideon. So is this real or unreal? And what do I mean when I say that?
Oh, you put me on the spot here. I think it's real, isn't it? It's like if the condition is met, then it's true.
Yeah,
Kind of thing.
It is a real one.
That's why it's the first conditioning. So it's a real one.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, in this case, it's about a future idea, isn't it? Because I guess the other element of the first conditional, which is not often talked about that much, and we'll probably talk about this in the future, but there's one where you use the present perfect at the beginning. I don't know if you ever go into this one, but I think this is a nice, interesting one. So say I'm driving my car along, and then suddenly I kind of hit a pothole, like a hole in the road, the size of a pot, and then you think, oh, God, I really hope I haven't damaged my car. So you don't know what's happened, but something has happened. So you say, oh, if I've damaged my car, I will be really upset.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think of that. Yes.
It's quite a good one, though, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's quite simple to use, but it's just that you know the result exists, but you don't know what the result is. So it could also be used maybe with results, like an exam result. Maybe your mum gives you a call and you say, oh, got the exam results in the post. And you're like, oh, great. If I've passed, I'll be so happy.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, that's interesting. I guess you could use it with past simple, couldn't you? Even for that one, if I have passed, if I pass my exams, then I will do this. But
no, that doesn't work. You see, you have to use present perfect.
And use perfect. Yes, you're right. Okay. Fair enough.
Otherwise, we're going into second conditional territory there, aren't we? But we can leave that for another time.
Yeah.
Right. Should we do the last one? What do you think?
Yes.
So, do you have one lined up?
Okay. The last one. I'll do this one. Again, it's something I hear in France a lot. This mistake. So I closed very quietly the door. I closed the door very quietly. So I think you've got it, guys, out there. The correct answer is I closed the door very quietly.
Yeah. Well, why do you think that's an issue?
Because I think in French you can. This is like the grammar is you put the adverbs after the noun or the adverbial phrase or after the verb. So I hear people saying, I speak very well English. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we get that.
Between the verb and the noun. But no, in English you put that adverbial phrase at the end. I speak English very well. Okay. Closed very quietly the door. I closed the door very quietly. Put the adverbial phrase at the end. So a common mistake. I just think the way that the language is constructed in French or other languages, it's just different.
No, but it's good to know, isn't it? I think, again, I often find higher level English learners get that one wrong as well. I guess it's just the way the mind works, isn't it? To some extent, it's not because you don't know the language. It's just that your mind is so used to putting it in that order, isn't it? I think so. It just comes out automatically.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Okay, so we finish things off now. So wrap things up. So yes, thank you for listening. So we'll probably approach a few more things like this in the future, because I think grammar mistakes are always a good talking point. And if you have anything you want to add or think we may not have covered things quite correctly or quite clearly, then do let us know. So you've been listening to English with Monty, with myself and Gideon. And again, in Gideon, you have your own podcast, don't you? You ran an episode, or you're running an episode coming out very shortly.
Yeah, starring Jon and myself on Zeitgeist Banana podcast. Listen to it. You'll hear Jon's lovely voice, and myself again.
Yes, it was a quiz, wasn't it? I seem to remember not doing very well on it, but it's a fun episode. So yes, definitely tune into that one. So yeah, thanks for listening. And yes, we did have a few technical problems. We apologize for that. There has been a delay in getting this one out, but we're hoping to get things out a bit more regularly now. Hopefully at least one every couple of weeks, or even one a week on occasions. So yeah, keep on listening. We will hear from you soon. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.